Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and this is of course more Baldurs Gate 3. I used to do this series here for a good while after launch, talking about different interesting tricks and details you might not know. Could be lore, game mechanics, lesser known secrets, whatever. But eventually, as is natural, we'd found and talked about a lot of things that we could and, I haven't made one in a while because of it. But today I'm back for one more video on this topic since it's been a while and the community has been finding a few interesting ones that, I wanted to share, springing up around Twitter and Reddit. So let's take a look. We begin with an interesting one. We have Karniss the Drider, which is a concerningly popular character amongst the fanbase. Apparently elvish monster men are in high demand, and there's only one in Baldurs Gate 3. You might be interested to know then that there's a simple trick you can do to have Karniss join your party for a little while. You'll need control undead though, which means you're going to need an Oathbreaker Paladin, because that's the source of that spell. If you've never done that before, just pick a Paladin or respec to one, pick something easy like Oath of Ancients, and kill a non-hostile enemy. You can do this really early in game by killing the tieflings you meet in Act 1, the ones who've captured Lae'zel in that cage. Anyway, however you get your Oathbreaker, you get control undead because of it, which then is used to gain control over an undead unit. It lasts until the next long rest. You just need to be one level above the enemy. And in the case of Karniss, he's level 6, so you're going to need to be 7 or higher for this to work. But also, he needs to be undead, because he's obviously not. This isn't actually a problem. I did this accidentally in my first playthrough. You go to the ambush spot where you kind of first really meet Karniss and reveal yourself. And through conversation, you convince Karniss that, hey, you're part of the Absolute and that, hey, you need the lantern. But don't worry, the Absolute's totally going to protect them when they go off into the Shadow Curse lands without it. Damning that party, of course, to the cursed fate, turning them into specifically Shadow Cursed Undead. You meet them later in the town to the southwest in front of Moonrise Towers. They're in the center of the town. Enter combat, use Control Undead on Karniss, and then he'll be with you until your next long rest, which is very cool. If you want to make the most out of this then, you might want to hold off controlling him until you're ready for a fight, maybe just before heading into the Shah Gauntlet or the Battle of Moonrise, whatever you want. It's got a nice big health pool, could be pretty useful as a damage sponge, and there's this effect, Spindle Web Fanatic, a condition that causes an extra 1d6 of psychic damage on the enemies, which can be very helpful. Alright, next up, what about a simple and really effective way to defeat Ethel in Act 1 while she's still in the tea house, as in before she ever goes into the basement and things get a lot more complicated and challenging. It's very simple. You just need to use the spell Arcane Lock, which is a very commonly known and used spell. By locking the stairs that lead down into the dungeon below, you create a lot of problems for Ethel. When she tries to escape after taking, a bit of relevant damage, her AI basically completely breaks. From the moment she tries to escape, she just gets confused, going up to the stairs and then not being able to use them. So since the AI doesn't know what to do with these locked stairs, understandably, it's kind of a weird concept, she just tries to exit and use them over and over. Unable to, no longer really fighting you, basically turning into a target dummy. That makes finishing her off at this early stage pretty damn easy. So whether you're having a hard time with Ethel or not, this will really speed up the process since you won't have to go down and all the way through. And what's extra interesting about this, beyond the practical standpoint, is that the victims down below, the ones with the mad masks, they are free from the curse. So you can have unexpected dialogue with them, how they got there and stuff. But moving on from that, how about angel summons and horrible curses? Did you know that there's actually multiple curses you can get when looting the Stormshore Tabernacle donation chests? The Deva that you summon by removing the curse normally can actually be something else, like a djinn, depending on your god. If you're not sure what I mean, basically in Act 3, in the Stormshore Tabernacle Church, you go into the basement, there's these donation chests, and you're not allowed to loot them. If you do, you get curse. And there's actually lots of neat tricks to avoid that curse that I've covered in this series. But if you take the curse intentionally, it can be quite useful. Because when you remove the curse, you spawn in a Deva sort of boss fight. By defeating that, you get a very high rated mace. It provides a ton of radiant damage when it lands blows, which is quite useful. But like I said, how about a totally different enemy and weapon result? Turns out that if you do this as a cleric whose deity is actually Helm, when removing the curse, you'll instead summon Fircel, a djinn who drops some scimitars instead of, say, that mace, which is pretty interesting. There aren't many djinn in the game. It's nice to have one more to see here. But also, did you know you can summon your own Deva to fight for you? Permanently locking that spell is pretty strong. Yeah, in the basement of Sorcerer Sundries, there is a book in a hidden room to the southwest called Caution of Seelie. And by reading that book, you just get a scroll of bestial communion. This summons a Deva that can cast Wrathful Smite, which is pretty helpful, Revivify, which is pretty insane, and Concussive Smash, also very good. It has a lot of health, it's a pretty damn good summon. However, since it's a scroll, you only get one use out of it, so I'd strongly advise that you of course use a wizard to learn the spell permanently. And from there, you'll have this until long rest summon that's genuinely very strong. Now moving on from the god-related summons, how about some normal summons, and actually a very strong use for one in particular. Now there used to be this trick you could do with summons and their weapons, tricking the summons to, well, give you their weapon. Some of them were quite useful. The trick was also easy. You summon in that elemental of your choice, and then you'd open up your own inventory. Then right as you had your own open, you'd click on the summon party icon on the left. That will keep the inventory open, but it's swapped to theirs, which you're not meant to be able to do. At that point, you could just drag their weapon into your own inventory and hey, you've got it yourself. The most hyped option from this list of different summon weapons was probably the Flail of the Vortex, which came with the electrified flail weapon action. This could be used to hard stun lock enemies in a very effective way. If there's a serious threat in the fight, you could just remove it basically. It stuns a target for 2 turns, meaning it'll lose a turn entirely, and then you can repeatedly do it. The problem with this whole concept is obviously that they patched it, but not completely. It was recently found that there's a whole other way to get that flail again. So you summon the elemental in, and then you send it off on its own in the city. Start causing chaos, break stuff, do general non-lethal vandalism, and eventually a guard will come arrest you for a minor crime, right? And you agree to go to jail as the summon, which, yeah, just like it would for you, has their equipment taken away from them and put into the evidence chest. Which means you can come along now and take the flail from that chest. So that's quite the funny method around that patched weapon, and that is one way to get it again. Alright, lastly, a couple quick, hilariously effective trader tricks. As you likely know, as it's something I've shown in this series before, you can get better deals with vendors by increasing your rep with them. Also, you can have higher charisma, that has impacts. There's a few tricks around this process. But did you know that if you respec right before donating to a trader to increase the rep, you'll of course be level 1 now. And because you're level 1, it's cheaper. It's kind of a weird system, but yeah, you spend a lot less gold in the barter. Something like 400 can get you well to max rep happily at this point, where it'd cost you a lot more if you were actually higher level or whatever your true level is. With that max rep then, the vendor will sell things to you for much cheaper, and they'll become an ideal place to trade and vendor items to intentionally. I'd recommend having one max rep trader to use in Act 1, 2, and 3, especially if the trader, goes from Act 1 to 2 and you find them later. And then finally, what about an insane money glitch that is definitely getting patched? So if you want to make use of it while you can, I'd do so. Basically, it was recently discovered, it's been discussed on the Reddit. There's no way Larian's not going to learn about it if they haven't already. You just go to a trader while in the barter menu, select everything they have, then drag it across into your own inventory. That'll increase their stash of gold that the vendor has to work with, but it won't mess with yours in the same way for whatever reason. Then you drag it all straight back to the vendor, which gives you the value in exchange. So you can just kind of keep doing that, gaining massive amounts of gold as you do. Pretty broken. So like I said, there's no way this isn't getting patched. It's just a question of when. Just be warned that if you're watching this video late, it might already be gone. But there you have it. That's a pile of interesting and weird things that I've seen or read over the last little while. I wanted to include it all in one more meaty things video. I hope this was useful or at very least interesting to you. And as always with this series, if you know any more interesting details like this, then you can drop it in a comment. You might just inspire more stuff to talk about. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.